Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Monday, the 5th of August. With McShane, we've just begun reading the Psalms, and today we read Psalms 3 and 4. A couple of verses from Psalm 3. Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. Then down to the last verse of the psalm, from the Lord comes deliverance. May your blessing be on your people. A psalm of David, psalm looking at these foes around him, threatening him, coming against him, but he's trusting in God as a shield, the one who will protect him. And we know as we read through the books of Samuel and Chronicles that Samuel and Kings, that David was constantly on the run as a young man. He'd been anointed by Samuel and he had to wait for the kingship to become his. And Saul had threatened him. He'd gone off running into the wilderness. He'd gone to the neighboring kings, and he'd gone back into the wilderness, hidden in caves. And we've got all those stories about David on the run. But if we read the beginning of the psalm, before verse 1, the heading, it says, a psalm of David, when he fled from his son Absalom. Now, Absalom had risen in rebellion against David, sought to overthrow him, and David had escaped by the skin of his teeth. He just got out of Jerusalem in time. But he was an older man, much older by this stage. At this stage of his life, he'd already been king of Judah for 7 years, then made king of the whole of Israel. He'd established his capital city in Jerusalem. He'd built a palace for himself. He'd wanted to build a temple and been told, no, you're not going to do it. He'd seen all of this happen. And his son then rose up against him. So this wasn't a young man on the run. This was a much older man, a man who'd for years been settled and content. And not only was he now on the run, but this was a complete upheaval for him. And as I read that, I thought, so often our lives are a bit tumultuous when one's young and you're studying and beginning a career and beginning a family and moving and settling. And toward the end of one's life, generally, people are much more settled. They've now found the house that they like and they're staying in it. But that's not always the case. And sometimes just as we think we're settling down, a curveball comes and everything gets turned on its head. And we're thrown, in a sense, into confusion again. And we can take a leaf from David's book. He calls out to God. He knew that God had delivered him in his youth, and he trusts in the same God. He says, God, you are the one. You're a shield around me. You're the one who lifts my head. I call out to you. You answer me. He knows that God had been like that, and he trusts God will be like that. And we can do the same. That no matter what stage of life we're in, we can always fall back on God. Be encouraged by that thought and know that we are blessed.